All right, 10:03 on the fan. What's going on, everybody? This is the Tiki and Tierney Show. Let's rev it up. Tiki is out in Arizona. A little Super Bowl stuff for you. But here they are, those Nets. The Nets doing what the Nets do. Getting a whole lot of ink, getting a whole lot of conversation, getting a whole lot of debate, and really getting it despite accomplishing absolutely nothing. Let me tell you something right now. To me, I really thought about this, right? I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment. I don't want to overreact. So I really thought about this before I'm about to say what I'm about to say, or before I say what I'm about to say. Nobody, I challenge anybody to find something. Nobody in the history of our city on the New York sports scene made such earth-shattering moves, moved mountains to buy, acquire relevance, championship pedigree, and accomplished so little. Complete waste of time, aggravation, disrespect, a mockery, and where did it get you? It got you nowhere. Nowhere.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, BT. Was it worth it?
No.
If you are the Brooklyn Nets, was it worth it? I would argue it absolutely was worth it, because think about what their stated mission was with Joe Tsai when they came to Brooklyn, which was to claim New York and start dominating on the national scene. They had all of that. They had the opportunity to take headlines away from the Knicks or whatever else was going. And for certain stretches, they did that. Right? They became relevant. They became a national conversation in so many ways. And hell, we discount it because of what it feels like they did over the last 3 seasons, but they were consistently in the playoffs, and they were a Kevin Durant, half of a toenail away from getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, I mean, yeah, I understand they didn't accomplish what they wanted, which is winning a championship. But now I think organizationally, they've set themselves to another standard, to a level of expectation that they now are forced to try to achieve to. Like, they can't just be, we're the Nets. We're sitting out here in Brooklyn. We're the second fiddle to the little kid to the New York Knicks. Like, they've now changed the expectation for the organization, even if this didn't ultimately work out in the championship.
See,
you know what I mean?
I don't think they changed anything. If anything, I think they made it worse here, and I'll tell you why. This is a players' league, right? We've long known this.
Yes.
Even really going back to Magic and Bird, but it was more team-oriented back then, but it's always been a player-driven league. I think, Teak, that the Nets are viewed now as toxic around the league because, first of all, like the coaching –
but why do you say that?
I'm going to tell you, the coaching community,
go ahead.
When they sacrificed Kenny Atkinson, who got absolutely shafted unfairly, unjustly by the Nets, that was wrong. The coaches were like, wow, the Nets, man. All right, so they just did Kenny dirty. Okay, the players now, and I don't think this is – I don't want to say they don't have the right to feel this. You feel what you feel. I don't think it's accurate, though. I think the players around the NBA right now are looking at the Nets as an organization that just did Kyrie and KD dirty, when in reality, it's Kyrie who took a Scud missile to this whole thing. But the Nets, the Nets are going to be viewed as toxic, a non-destination. Look what they did to Kyrie. Look what they did to my boy KD. I ain't going there. The Nets are irrelevant again. Completely irrelevant.
It's really interesting when you put it that way, because I don't think that they did KD wrong. I think KD kind of got the best out of this. He signed this massive extension, and he then asked to be traded because he knew it was falling apart. James Harden works his way out of here. Kyrie Irving was clearly trying to work his way out of this offseason. And so Kevin Durant trying to escape, and he had no way to escape at all because of the contract that he just signed, now has a big deal, and he's going to the place that he wanted to go to, which is Phoenix. Now, we can talk about what. Yeah, true, but one of his stated places he wanted to go was Phoenix. So we'll give him credit for getting to where he wanted to be. But look, Kevin Durant's got the best of all worlds right now. He gets out of a bad situation, and he goes someplace where, if they're healthy and Chris Paul doesn't age out of it, and Devin Booker gets back on the court, maybe they got DeAndre Ayton still. Maybe they become interesting, right? So
they're almost championship viable. They can win the championship out there. Interesting. They might be the team to beat.
But I don't think that they did wrong by KD.
No, I agree with you. But I think the perception by players.
No.
But
isn't that a fallacy? Isn't that a fallacy?
Absolutely.
We talked about this yesterday.
100%.
Right, we talk about not Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. Guys around the league love Kyrie Irving. And they'll look at Kyrie's situation, and he says, like the minute he gets a microphone in Dallas, he says, "Oh, I was disrespected in Brooklyn. Oh, they didn't treat me right." Like, what are you talking about?
It's nonsense.
You didn't treat them right. Like he creates his own narrative. But I think the discerning mind and agent and player will look at this Brooklyn situation with Kyrie, and say, that was kind of Kyrie. That wasn't really the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets were just trying to fend off the body blows, right? And duck the uppercuts that were coming his way from Kyrie. So I think over time, this thing gets right for the Brooklyn Nets. At least the perception gets right for the Brooklyn Nets. But at the end of the day, they had to raise what their expectation is as an organization. And by taking a shot, even though it failed, at KD and Kyrie and even Harden, Ben Simmons, I guess you could throw in there, but he's an afterthought at this point. But you had to take that shot because now people know that the expectation is not just sit here and be middle of the road. Maybe we're good every now and then, Brooklyn Nets.
877-337-6666. We'll get into, what the Nets got back in the deal and what we think about that. But let me raise another point here, because one of the things that you said, and I half agree, you talk about the profile of the Nets, and when they engineered this whole thing and brought these superstars in here, of course you take the swing. I was hoping that the Knicks in real time got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, of course. Now, in hindsight, I'm thrilled they didn't, but I don't begrudge the Nets for making that move. But let's not minimize or really, let's not overstate the impact of the Nets locally. The Nets profile nationally is radically different from the profile of the Nets locally. And I'll give you an example here. I mean, you watch ESPN, Stephen A., Jalen Rose, all those guys, Greeny, the whatever shows that they do. I mean, they are always talking about the Nets, Windhorst, although they devote a lot of time to the Nets. I just want to point something out. We are the home of the Brooklyn Nets. The home, right? We have, based on
WFAN is the home.
Yeah, WFAN. We have the biggest Net fan that I know, real Net fan in Evan. And I got to tell you, we've only got to know, Keith the last year or so. Keith is a great Nets fan. So we've got just a little younger than Evan, and young Evan's been on the scene forever. That's why I say he's the biggest fan, and he lives and dies with this team. How many times do we get Kevin Durant on the station? How many times we get Kyrie Irving on the station? How many times we get James Harden on the station? How many times we get Steve Nash? Once, maybe once with Nash. How many times we get Jacques Vaughn on the station? So don't tell me that this local regional Nets profile exploded. And this is not a shot at Evan. I've always had his back with this. I love Evan. Evan is the biggest Nets fan that I know. We're the home of the Nets. The Nets didn't even care enough about us or their fans to deliver that guy, not me and you, him or Keith, a net. Think about that. So the national profile went through the roof. The local profile, whatever. Completely benign and borderline non-existent. And it's going to remain that way.
But people went to the arena, right? People were intrigued by it. It was a ticket that you wanted to go after. I know the attendance wasn't astronomical, but it did tick up when those guys were there. So, look, there were some benefits to it. But I ultimately think that they had to take the shot. The Brooklyn Nets had to take the shot. They were going about it in this mundane, we're developing these good kids. I get the Kenny Atkinson thing. I completely agree with you. That was a hose job.
They were a playoff team the year before Kyrie came.
He was doing a good job. And honestly, he probably would have been just fine with a couple of superstars on the team as well. It would have helped probably enhance his message that he's trying to send about what it takes to become a winner, because both those guys that they bring in are winners, having won championships. And so I think ugly from a coaching, ugliest team maybe. It was bad, but ultimately they had to do it. They had to do it, and I can't fault them for doing it. And I think in the long run, it changes what this organization wants to do going forward.
Okay, I agree with almost both things to an extent. Of course you had to do it. No one's here to debate that. You had to. I think where I go is that I think the Nets empowered these players too much. They just gave them too much juice. They acquiesced to them. I know it's a players' league. There's got to be a pecking order of who is in charge. And for minute one, the first flag, It was raised above the ship. It's a collaborative effort. We don't really need a coach. That was the first sign this ain't working. Well, actually, yeah, that was the first sign. The other sign was before that, in 2019, 2020, Kyrie's first year, Kevin Durant was obviously hurt, when he said, listen, just look around the team. We don't have the pieces. We're not that good. I mean, and I know that he kind of walked it back a little bit, and you and I had Joe Harris shortly thereafter on the national show, and we asked him about that, and he's like, Kyrie's a good teammate. But if you're in the room when Kyrie said what he said back in, I want to say January, and it just turned 2020, so obviously a few months before, COVID really took over our world and the world, this guy's out there saying, no, we're not good enough. Just look around the room. Look who I'm playing with. So for years, it's been the ROI is as low as you can possibly get on anything. Yes, they had to take a swing, but don't tell me the Nets are in a better place. They're not. The Nets are going back to their little teeny tiny hole of irrelevance, and they will not be heard from again until they do something big, which also will probably fail like this and like Garnett and Pierce. I mean, every couple of years they take these monster swings out of desperation, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, the Garnett Pierce thing, that's hard to explain. It's hard to just to get behind and justify because those guys were clearly washed. But I think it was similar in that they were trying to make themselves nationally relevant. And it did work for a little while, but ultimately they had no shot of winning. This was different because it was similar. They were trying to make themselves nationally relevant, and it could have worked. Right, they were this close to actually making it work with James Harden and Kyrie and KD when they played together. They were outstanding. There were 16 games. They were 13-3. They easily could have been one of the most dominant teams. It just didn't work out, and I can't fault them for it. But at the same time, when I look back on it, I have to say it was worth it. I really do. I know.
Yeah, I don't know what the basis is. I don't know what you base that on. Why? Well, we'll get more
because now the expectations.
Nobody expects anything from the Nets.
Has changed.
Expectations.
Yes, well, I do.
Oh,
I do.
Okay.
I don't expect them to just draft, late first rounders or mid first rounders or second rounders and say, hey, we're going to hire a coach, Jacques Vaughn, who's now our coach. You develop these guys. I expect them to try to aggressively go after superstars.
Gotcha.
And whatever that means, it means.
Gotcha. All right, T. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. How do you view this? How do you view this whole soap opera of the Nets? And we'll get into what they got back. The Knicks made a little move. They might make more today, but Durant gone, Kyrie gone. Unfathomable the day that they actually came to actually see how little they accomplished and how bad it ultimately was.